First, I have to address the title of this video. I finished the book during the quarantine, but I've been working on this for a while. I think I've been working on it for about a year and a half, so it wasn't just during the quarantine. It's been a long time in the making. But it's finished, and it's in my hands. It feels great, and I'm super proud of it. But I think I would describe myself as a pessimist, so instinctually throughout the entire time I'm working on this book, I'm thinking to myself, why the hell am I even writing a book? Who even reads books nowadays? Why am I making a video about it now? To answer that question for myself and to anybody who might ask the same thing in their head, I'd have to go way back to understand what really drives me to do this. So let's go way back. Ever since I could remember, I've been an indulger of art. I've been playing video games, listening to music, watching movies, reading books, and every now and then, even though I'm not great at it, I've been writing and drawing. All of which I consider to be art, but for the sake of a shorter video, I'll keep the discussion at storytelling, because I could talk about music for ages. But let's get a little deeper. I love stuff that dreams were made of, stuff that lets your imagination run rampant, stuff that were labeled as fantasy. I think the reason that is because I didn't like my own world. I wanted to be somewhere else. And if I could just read a few words, close my eyes and escape to another world, or stare at a screen and pretend I'm in the world I'm looking at, then I was game. I suddenly felt better. Looking back at the past, it just reflects the way I am now. Then, through my teen years, something changed. I can't pinpoint where, but I started to question the entire world around me. Why do people commit acts of senseless violence? Why are people racist? Why do people treat me different just because of the things I like? And I started to love rebellious art because I resonated with it so much. You know, I wanted to be me, but more importantly, I wanted to find me. And I never wanted to conform to a societal norm that would hold me back. But like all teenagers, you know, you're young, you're stupid, and you do a lot of stuff that you'll find mortifying in the next few years.
Yeah, no problem. Oh.
But through all that, I realized that I was venting most of my emotions through art. I was listening to bombastic music, I was playing competitive video games with rage, and surprisingly enough, I started writing in high school. I've written a lot of cringy stuff, and they'll never be shared, but writing for me has been therapeutic and cathartic. But I also fell in love with film in high school. I found beauty in cinematography and a drive to create, and in those years I found that as an indulger of art, the only sensible way to say something in this world is through art. Now we jump forward to 19-year-old me to currently 21-year-old me. I've learned to take art a tad bit more seriously. In these years, I finally started to appreciate the artist behind the art. I'm kind of mad that it took me that long. Most of my favorite literature artists are just conveying their messages. You know, most of my favorite video games and movies, you know, they tell a story with a deeper meaning behind dialogue and cinematography and gameplay. They're all creating stories, and deep within their stories lies their emotions and their experiences. And although their art can be criticized, ridiculed, and insulted, and has the possibility of being immoral, it's still the way the artist expresses themselves, and I don't think anybody can take that away from anybody. I felt horrible about all the art that I called trash or garbage, So then I revisited all my favorite art to find the artist's bigger message, I guess. So after trying to understand all this art and a ton more that I've not mentioned, I came to the conclusion that artists are expressing themselves. And for the most part, they create unforgettable experiences that people hold on to forever. I'm sure anybody can remember their favorite movie, song, video game, or book from when they were a kid. So that brings us to our original question. Why the hell am I writing a book? I realized that I wanted to make an attempt at making an unforgettable experience as well. Writing a book felt like the best way I could tell the story I've had in my head with what resources that I had. And I've been creating art my entire life. I just never saw motivation besides money or impressing people with my art. But it's different now. I still want to create art. I just want to do it with a different purpose. I just want to give someone an escape because I know how good that feels. I want to show people my thoughts or emotions or what my imagination looks like. I want to create so that people can remember it and escape. More than anything in the world, I want to create art worth sharing and remembering. And I did. I made an attempt at it. Here it is. I think it's around 100 pages, I think this would be considered a novella. It was tough writing it. I had a tough time keeping my characters true to their personalities and keeping track of time in the story and structuring a dialogue to make it seem like my characters weren't just reading a script. But I ran into a big problem. You see, there's nothing more than I want to share this story with my friends and family or with people just curious enough to see what it's about. But after a year and a half worth of work put it into this book and having it, physically in my hands, I read it and it sucked. It sucks. It's bad. Now, it might be the pessimism in me kicking in, but reading this, at least to me, it just feels off. And don't get me wrong, I'm still proud of it. I still believe I've created a great story with lively characters and a world with depth, and it feels amazing just to hold it in my hands. But I don't know how to write books. So I wrote it in my voice and my tone, and at the moment it seemed like a reasonable risk to take, but I've read the finished product and it sucks. So I need to get edited by an editor or editors. This book could be a lot worse than I'm making it sound, but truth be told, I lost my job. If I hired one now, I wouldn't have enough money to support my family or, my cat, life expenses. If I were to invest in an editor, it'd be like putting all my eggs in one basket. And as a dreamer, that it seems poetic for me to do so. I find that being a dreamer pretty much sets you up for failure, and there's smart ways to go about it. There's a smart way of being a dreamer. You have to know which leaps that you can survive and which you can't. So for my situation, I know I can't survive a leap of putting my entire bank account into editors for my book, because in the likely event that my book does not succeed, I'm gonna be penniless, and due to life expenses, I can't be penniless. Part of me wants to, self-publish it anyway and sell it for a really cheap price, but if I were to do that, it'd be like selling a half-baked cake, and it's gonna be a half-baked cake that nobody's gonna remember, and that's the last thing I want. I've decided to hold back on the book, and in the future I'll be able to make this happen, but in the meantime, I've got to be patient. I've got to be a smart dreamer. In the meantime, I'll be here looking for whatever is next in my life while I play Valorant, and like the rest of the world, patiently wait for David Dobrik's next vlog. So to answer the other question, why am I making a video about this? Usually when I make a video, I just want to make one to show my friends so we can share a few laughs, but I guess this one's intended for dreamers like me. And this doesn't have to apply to, creating and sharing art. It could be anything, taking a hike that you've always wanted to. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I wanted to share my journey because I failed, but writing a book was one of the most fulfilling things that I've done my entire life. Even though this journey was on paper a failure, I learned a few things. I learned that I never felt more alive when I'm working on something that I always wanted to do. I found myself getting lost in my own imagination, and it felt amazing. So to the people that I know have bigger ideas than mine, or bigger ideas than themselves, everyone's going to regret living their life succumbing to their own fear. So I think everyone owes it to themselves to just do something that intrigues them, even if it's outside of their comfort zone. Because 9 times out of 10, you'll look back at it and you'll say the exact same thing I did after I read my book. I'm glad I did that, even though it sucked. You might not say that last part, but I sure as hell did.